Are you willing to pay €145 for an 8-year-old whiskey? Even though it is a little bit of a high ABV, 56.1% ABV. It is natural color, non-chill filtered, but it keeps in the back of my mind €145 here in Belgium. Are you willing to pay that? Of course, I'm talking a Port Charlotte from the Brochladi distillery, and Port Charlotte, 10-year-old, as an example for me, was an exceptionally nice whiskey. I really enjoyed it. And the price, well, we talk about the price a little bit later on. But the fact is, we are sitting with an 8-year-old whiskey, with all ticking the boxes, high ABV. We have the natural color, non-chill filtered. We have a pedigree whiskey. We have a distillery that's known for making some real good whiskies. Peated, non-peated, doesn't really matter to me. Matured in French red wine cask. So yeah, they're ticking the boxes again with me in the red wine cask. I'm going to look for those notes. I'm going to open the mind. I'm going to open the palate to see if I can find a little bit of a red wine note in it. So quite excited. I did pour it a while ago. Natural color, non-chill filtered, nice golden color to it. And of course on the nose, it is nice. And on my previous video, I was talking about my Whiskey of the Year for 2023, and one of them was the Octomores, and one of the subscribers made a fantastic comment. It's all about the peat, the type of peat, where does it come from that create that influences some of them that's not so nice for me, that deep hospital TCP notes that you get in some of the Isla whiskies. Now, if you use a different peat, Highland peat, you're going to have some different aromas and taste coming out. And so each peat has got its own little story, and what do they bring to the table in the end. Now for me, this one, and I also the 10-year-old for me, I loved it. And it is a type of peat that I like. That sweet, more savory type, not that hospital TCP Band-Aid type of notes. And I get this on this PAC as well. It is sweet. It reminds me a little bit of a bacon and banana toast sandwiches. Weird, but I can close my eyes and I can smell the bacon and banana in a sandwich machine, and you get that sweetness, that caramelization, and then you get that bits of bacon in the end. Not overly bacony, but that light note that comes out with a little bit of a butter just to help with the caramelization of the bread as well. It's really nice. Now it is 56.1% ABV. If you do give it a little bit of an agitation, there is a youthful note that comes out. It definitely tells you that it is a high ABV. It tells you it's young, it's bold, there's a little spicy note come out. There's that woody, tanniny note that comes out. So definitely, it's not what I would describe as a nice mellow whiskey. Something that has been matured, laid to rest, found a good sleep. Waking this one up, you immediately get it. But it's still not offensive. I've had a couple of young whiskies less than 10 years old that get that harsh overtones, that nail polish remover. I don't get that, but I can definitely tell there's a youthful component to this one. Every now and again, especially if you just pass your nose through the glass, You get a little bit of a freshly cut flowers. That stalky bit, that green note, I get that at the back. I get a little bit of a salted licorice note. Not really a big fan of salted licorice. I love licorice, but I get that saltiness on it. I get a hint of an ash note. Definitely something for people that love peat whiskey. But it is not that in-your-face type of peat whiskey. It is really nice, especially if you don't shaky, let it settle down and let that aromas come out naturally. So there is a quite sweet, but it is not an overly sweet whiskey. There's a nice balance, bringing in that little bit of a savory note that makes it quite nice on the nose. So on the taste, cheers. Oh my word, the taste. It is much sweeter on the taste for me. It's a little bit of an explosion of flavors. There's a little bit of a sweet, oaky, sour, hint of a tannin appearing in the end. So definitely that 8 years, that high ABV pulled some of that tannins, a little bit of a bitter note, which is quite pleasant actually. Otherwise I think it would have been a little bit too sweet, but that was on sip 1. And remember, it's high ABV, small sips. For me, definitely not adding water to this one. I am sure a lot of people tell me that, add a drop of 2. Well, it's cold. It was been snowing yesterday. It's been snowing this morning. I had some snowflakes coming in. I went out to the shop quickly, came back, freezing cold. So the high ABV for me makes sense. It's lovely. And even if I go back now on the nose after taking that sip, it just changes a little bit as well. A little bit more sweeter. That ashy note is coming out again. I get a little bit of a caramel note, a little bit of a cinnamon note coming out, a little spicy note. There's a lot of emotion in this one. It takes you through a little bit of a roller coaster ride. You take that first sip, just want to make sure. It's sweet. And then all of a sudden that alcohol says, hang on now, I'm not to be played with. I am high, but it is like it just evaporates in the mouth. And when you are on that high and all of a sudden you get that spicy note, it gives you a little bit of a dip into the spicy notes. You hit the bottom with a little bit of an oakiness, and then that little salty note coming out, a little bit of that licorice, salted licorice note coming out. And when it planes out and it lingers in the mouth, warm mouth, and when it just lingers and it ends up with something pleasant, sweet, and well-rounded. So quite nice on the taste, even as this high ABV. Now I know a lot of you is going to tell me, add some water. Tell us about the water. Do we add water? Don't we add water? So with that in mind, maybe I will just add, it's quite a lot. I will put in half a teaspoon of water. I just want to make sure that I don't mess. That's about half a teaspoon of water. And give it a little bit of a agitation. Now, if I drink this one, especially with the cold, I will not add water to it. But this will last me 2 hours. I take small sips. Remember to take small sips. But if we add a little bit of water, there's less of that smoke note. It's less that hint of that medicinal note that came out. But just a hint of that now, it seems to be disappearing. More vanilla's coming out. That nice salted caramel note that I did like, not really getting that. And on that note, please remember to like and subscribe. I am working on a video that will come out soon on high ABV whiskies. And this just reminded me, so keep an eye on that one. We will talk about the complexities of high ABV whiskies. So it is less smoky, less medicinal. It's more friendly on the nose. There's no that harshness, that little bit of that youthful note is definitely no longer there. It's pleasant. And every time that I go back, more vanilla. Really nice. Couple of drops. On this one, maybe 10 drops. Almost a teaspoon, say 3.5 milliliters. And of course, with a little bit of water. Cheers. A little bit of a harshness is no longer there. That licorice note, I get now a little bit of a, not a salted licorice, but a normal licorice, maybe the red licorice note. The sweetness is a little bit elevated. It does make it a little bit easier to drink. If you are going to take big sips, I think it will make sense to add a little bit of water, but the way that I drink it, small sip at a time, definitely something that I enjoy. So if you want to add water to it, the water makes it less angry. I think that's the best way to describe it. There's no angry note, that youthful angry note shouting 8 years. Of course, it doesn't really help for the pocket, because if I tell my credit card I'm going to pay 145 euros for this one, I think, my nose might change. But I think it is a nice whiskey, and definitely something that I would recommend if you are a peat lover, if you like a peated whiskey that is maybe not so bold. I think this one is definitely for you. And now price-wise, 145 euros. I can get for 65 euros, I can get a 10-year-old. And it's going to be bottled at 50% ABV, so 6.1% less. Now, is it worth then to pay, more than double? I'm not so sure. I'm not convinced. It is nice, but I did like the 10-year-old a little bit better. So that's me on a bombshell Port Charlotte PAC 01 2011. Do I pick it over a Port Charlotte 10? I don't think so. My wallet also agrees and says, thank you very much, Gert. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Maybe later on we can afford these high whiskies, high price whiskies. So thank you very much, and I see you next time with, remember, we talk high ABV whiskies. Cheers.